Welcome to our Drive to Work Wednesday. Oh, hello there. Welcome to our weekly live call at the HVAC Game Skool community, our Drive to Work Wednesday. And yes, welcome back. Good morning. And the first question, I guess, is if we have any questions, community questions.
No, not that I know of. Not that I know of. There's no question.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see any particular questions either. I checked the community, but I don't think anybody posted like troubleshooting help or particular questions that they wanted to have covered. I did get some feedback about the courses, saying that were they were relatively easy to understand, very easy to follow along, and very concise with a lot of information. So that is very good for me to hear, because I've been wondering and I've been trying to get more and more feedback. So I input some ways how the community members can give feedback on the courses and let me know if they're good, if they're bad. And I'm glad to hear that so far what I have recorded and uploaded is well received. That is very good.
That's good because
And
it's easy to understand usually.
yeah, that's what I'm going for. I mean, I'm building them from the ground up, so that's really what I'm going for, doing all the basics, all the different components, because you cannot really troubleshoot an air conditioning unit if you don't know the components and how they are supposed to be. You basically need to have some kind of idea how it's supposed to be, how they're supposed to operate, so you can actually see if there's something that's going wrong and concentrate on the basics first. And
Sorry, can you
since
repeat that
there's so
again?
much,
You froze for a second. So the components and then you froze. Can you just repeat that again?
yeah, so I concentrated on the components first and making everything easy to understand. So, because if you don't know the components, you cannot troubleshoot. And there's already so much terminology in air conditioning that I'm trying to start out with the least amount of terminology that I can.
Mhm.
And then as we progress, we're going to add more and more of the terminology. And we also have a glossary in the additional resources section. So if there's any words or something that doesn't make sense, then you can look that up there too. So I really am big on that, because if you don't know the word, you don't understand the function of it, then it doesn't make sense. And then the whole thing seems confusing if you just don't understand one
Right.
or two little things usually.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was good. And then I brought two separate topics with me that I wanted to discuss. One of them I just recently ran across, which is the new refrigerant that's coming here.
You froze. Sorry.
I mean, they keep changing it.
You froze. You froze. So the new refrigerant that it's coming and then what?
Well, the new refrigerant that is coming. Well, it's kind of here already. And um,
You.
yeah, so I'm not frozen. I lost my thought because I didn't know that I was frozen and I was in the middle of a sentence, and now I have to remember
Okay.
exactly what I said and what I wanted to say because I just took my thought away.
Okay.
So I wanted to discuss the A2L refrigerants, which they keep changing. They were supposed to be here already this year. Like it was supposed R410A was supposed to be phased out 2024, but then they delayed it and now they can still sell R410A units, but I think they're nitrogen precharged. I don't really deal with installs that much, so I don't keep track of it that much, but now it seems like 2025 is the big year for A2L for the R32 and R454B, which are the two new A2L refrigerants that we're going to be working with. And I've heard a lot of concerns and worry from technicians out in the field, and nobody knows how it's going to be and if it's going to be rough or easy, and everybody's kind of like worried. And I do understand the worry. We had the same thing going on when R22 was phased out and we went to R410A. Everybody was like, oh, the pressures are higher and you have to have different refrigerants for the different temperatures because R22 I don't know how many people remember, but you were actually able to use it for all scenarios for um like low temperature, mid temperature, and high temperature applications. So now we have 410A for all our regular air conditioning stuff, and then we have 404A for our refrigeration. So then we introduced more refrigerants, and then there was more uncertainty. And I understand that that is happening, but I just want to say that it's probably not as bad as it's gonna be. Like it's gonna be better than you expect, I think, and the transition was probably gonna be easier. And I encourage you to find in your supply houses A2L class and just attend it. I went to one, it was 2 hours, and it just covered all the basics of A2L and the flammability rating and safeties and the new equipment, because also the hoses, the connectors on the hoses are reversed. So you will need adapters, and you might need new equipment that is A2L rated because it has the slight flammability rating.
Mhm.
And for example, your vacuum pump, the pump motor needs to be fully enclosed to prevent sparks. And there's just little things like that that you should be aware of. But I had the opportunity to install a system last weekend.
Oh.
And actually, the only reason why I got the opportunity is because the technician that usually does the installs, it was his first A2L install. And he called me and he's like, yo, do you know anything about it? And I said, well, I mean, I did a course, I did a class on it, and I looked up some stuff online. It doesn't seem too complicated. And then I asked him if he wanted help. And he honestly just wanted, I guess, me there as a kind of like a personal assurance.
Mhm.
Together, we figure out whatever might come our way.
Mhm.
But it's literally like a regular install, except you have one sensor that's in the evaporator compartment that senses if there's a refrigerant leak, and if there's a refrigerant concentration above a certain level, the
Mhm.
sensor shuts off the entire unit to prevent the A2L refrigerant circulating in the space, because you don't want the refrigerant gas with the light flammability to be spread around the building and then cause a potential safety hazard, you know.
Right. Right.
So, but just talking about installation, it seems like it's very straightforward. It's exactly the same way you would install any other system, except you have one additional sensor, and even the pressures are very similar to 410A. Like I think in the end, our suction side was at 125, and our liquid line was at 275,
Uh-huh.
which I think it's a little bit lower than you would usually get on R410A on the high side, but on the low side, it's pretty much the same pressures. So even that is very similar. So there's not a lot of adjustment really that you need to be worried about as a technician.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to take that up as a quick topic to maybe chill some people out and to encourage you to just do your own research. And there's a lot of like whatever on social media. There's a lot of things that you can look at, but just do a class and look at reliable sources that you know and you trust, and don't go for like the hype and like all freak out. You know, it's gonna be taking it one step at a time, and I'm sure we'll all figure it out as we get into it more, you know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Excellent. And then, do you know when is it gonna be implemented, or when is it come out, or is it like that's gonna be like the new one, the newest, the latest?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really keeping track of everything because I'm mainly on service. And if you're in installation, it's probably more you would need to focus on it more. But it was supposed to be 2024, and then they changed it, and now it was delayed, and then it was like different states at different times. Like I think California is moving ahead sooner than everyone else,
Mhm.
and that's what I know right now. But I guess I can look it up. But
Okay.
yeah, it just for me it kept changing, and then at some point I lost interest. I'm like, okay, when it's here, it's gonna be here, and then I'll see the units eventually. So that's but that's from a service perspective. Like if I do installs, I would be like all over that and trying to find out what's the information in my state specifically.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, well, I guess we shall just take a look, find out when and where, and then
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing I wanted to take up is something that I do, but I don't know how many other technicians do that. And it's just like a little kind of hack that helps me in my workflow and remembering things. And I just noticed that this morning I was going over a list that I had written for myself. And then I was like, I wonder how many people do that and if it's like a known thing and maybe some people get frustrated. So I just wanted to take it up and share that. And then you guys can let me know if that's something you do already or that was new to you. But basically, it is keeping a either like whatever, like a handwritten notepad or on your iPhone or your Android, a I keep it in my notes app, but just a list of things that you need to buy or that you need to get like tools and materials, and I have it separate because when I use material on the job, I have my truck stock, so I'm using it off the truck stock, and I need to remember to fill up my truck stock so I have it for the next service call. So if I use a capacitor, if I use a filter dryer, if I use refrigerant and I'm low on let's say 410A, I write down on my notes immediately as I use it. I write down by blah. So I just write down what I need, like the um 083 sweat filter dryer, for example. And then I just write down buy that. So next time I'm in the supply house and I'm getting something else, let's say I'm on a PM and I'm getting filters, I look at my phone and I look at my notes and I have a note that says supply house. And then I just have all the material that I wrote down. Like, for example, if I run low on zip ties, I write zip ties or like all the things you use, like rags, like all the common stuff that when you're in the supply house, when you're in the rush of things and you're like trying to get everything and get into the next job, then sometimes it's very hard to remember what you needed from the last job, especially if you didn't write it down and you're like, oh, did I need that? Did I need that? And then on like 2 or 3 days ahead on your next call, you might need a part that you actually used and that you could have gotten in a supply house. And now you need to do an extra trip to the supply house just because you didn't write it down. So that's something that has helped me a lot over the years to reduce travel time and unnecessary time, like just driving around, which is like that time basically, because you're not really getting paid for it and you could be more efficient and do more calls. And I do that and I separate it between materials and tools. So sometimes there is like tools that I see on the internet, for example, people using it, people reviewing it. And I'm like, okay, I don't really see how I would be using that, you know? And I just had that recently. I didn't see something, but I lost my inspection mirror for when I'm brazing, and I didn't notice that I had lost it. So last time I was brazing, I used like my phone and tried to get behind there with the camera to see how my joints were. And then I went to the supply house and I left and I hadn't written it down and I totally forgot to buy a mirror. And then I needed it again. So then I used my phone again. So I wrote it down, buy a mirror because you need to inspect your joints. And sometimes you can't really see behind there. And also I lost my old pump, the funnel for my vacuum pump. So I was trying to change the oil and it got all over and it was super messy. And these are just like little things that impede your workflow and they maybe like are annoying in the moment. And then you notice it, but you handle it and then you take care of it and you're on to the next job. And it's just really a good habit to have somewhere where you write it down. I know a lot of technicians that I work with, they have handwritten notes and they just have a little like paper notepad. They make these, I think they're like 5 inches by 2 inches, just with lines on it, just little pads, and they just write down on there what they need. I do it on my phone because it's just more convenient for me. But that's just something I wanted to share that has helped me increase my efficiency and my work, and it might be able to help you too. So you might be doing that already or not, so you can let me know. But that's just something that I wanted to share that I've just recently run across as something that is it's actually very helpful for me.
Okay, that sounds good. I think it's a good idea. Okay, well, our time is up. Not really sure about, but I hope that this is gonna be on the on the thing, and we're gonna put it on the community, and then they can just take it, see it, and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and then next week, based on community feedback, we are going to change the time from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So next Wednesday, we're gonna have the well, I guess it's not gonna be a drive to work because we're already going home, but we're just gonna try to do the live call at a different time because I've just gotten feedback from several people that it doesn't work out in the morning for them and the evenings will be better. So we'll just try it out for a few weeks and see how it goes. And yeah, anyway, that's just a note for anybody seeing this that next week on I think it was the 20th.
mhm.
Let me double check. I'm double checking. Yeah, it's the 20th. Okay. Yeah, today is the 13th. Yeah. So on the 20th of November, it's gonna be at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Alrighty then.
All right.
Well,
Well, have a good day. Enjoy your day. Do well and
okay.
stuff. And then we'll see you in the community and we'll see you on the next call.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.